Hello, everybody, and welcome back to BiCrafty Bootcamp, Triple Threat Tunisian Crochet for Beginners. Hello, everybody. We're back.
Hey.
Had to take a week off. Poor Robyn. She got the big C, guys. The big. Well, that sounds bad because that could be a lot of different things. The vid.
Not that kind of C.
She got the vid. She got the vid, and so she had to take time off. Technically, she probably should be taking this week off too, but she's like, we got to go. Gotta go.
I mean, when you get COVID, there's only so many things that you want to do. And frankly, all I want to do is crochet. So let's do it.
Hey, that's good. That's good. So welcome, everybody. If you don't know, my name is Marley Bird. I'm joined here by my partner in crime, Robyn Chachula. And Robyn is the one essentially heading up BiCrafty Bootcamp, Triple Threat Tunisian Crochet for Beginners. So we have done BiCrafty Bootcamp, knitters learning to crochet, BiCrafty Bootcamp, crocheters learning to knit. Now it's the triple threat. You guys are all learning how to do Tunisian. And we are on lesson 3. This is a 4-week boot camp that will then transition into a like, what would you call it? Like a 201 or a more advanced Tunisian instructional. Go ahead.
Basically, boot camp is to get you up to speed so that if you encounter, I would say, good 75% of all of the patterns that are published, you'll be able to do it. Like, there's so few things that you need. And then the next step will just be, once you become obsessed, hopefully after these 4 weeks, that you want to do more and learn more. Yeah. That's what that's for.
It's really cool. So we have learned quite a few different things. And this week, what are we learning this week?
So I had a really hard time just choosing a few stitches this week. So this week I just chose 3 random stitches that we're going to learn. And so, because we've learned all the basics, right? We've learned Tunisian simple stitch. We've learned Tunisian knit stitch, and we learned Tunisian purl. Those make up the majority of the patterns. Like, most of the patterns that you see published are using those stitches. And we've already played with color in that you see you can switch in and out anytime, right? Everything that we've been doing has color. So I wanted this week to pick 3 stitches that are just fun and more to the point in that other patterns use other stitches. Like we've been saying, like you can stick your hook anywhere you want it to go. But I wanted you to get used to just reading, because a lot of the Tunisian patterns is just interpreting, okay, I'm doing another stitch. It may not have a name, and it may not be called anything, but the pattern is telling me to stick my hook somewhere else, or it's telling me to do something else. So I chose 3 random of the millions that there are, just so we get our brain kind of on that train of, oh yeah, I could do a lot of other things, and it's not weird. It's just fun. So that's what we're doing. So this week I just chose 3, and that's what we're going to do. For homework is what I'm wearing is the Kirkton cowl. And what it is basically using we're going to learn how to do slip stitches in Tunisian. It's not like a slip stitch in regular crochet. It's exactly like when you slip a stitch in knitting. It's exactly the same. But the reason I love it is, I'll show you when we are doing on my hands, is that it's the most woven like looking fabric that you can get. And that's what excites me about Tunisian.
It's beautiful, like beautiful.
Well, that's what's cool about it, right? Like Tunisian could look like knit. It could look like crochet, but it has another ability. Like it has an ability to look like a woven fabric. And that's what I find really cool, of you're just using a hook and you're getting a whole nother thing that you can create. And it's easy. It's not hard. So this is our project, and you'll see, because we're going to kind of jump in and out. I want to, while we're working on this, is talk again about some finishing techniques in Tunisian. this week. We're going to talk about, again, we talked before about how to put an edging on your Tunisian projects, but I want to talk about it again. It has a seam. We'll talk about how to seam it. I mean, you can really seam it however you want, but we're going to talk about other things. Also, if cowls aren't your thing, we're going to talk about how easy it would be to turn it into a purse. This is the exact same pattern, I just folded it over and put a strap on it and made it into a purse. I know, that's the COVID. I apologize. Not going to be my first or last time coughing. You got all the fibers and COVID. But basically, we're making a big rectangle, and you can do what you want with it. I have two options. Like, basically, just fold it over and add a purse strap, and you made a purse. Like, that's what's kind of fun. You can do lots of things. So, I apologize if I keep doing that all lesson long. That is 100% all the fibers going right up into my nose.
Sorry,
terrible. All right. So without any more, I want to get into the lessons because I want us to be able to get through a couple of stitches. If you have your hook around and you want to play with doing some things with me, come and do it while I switch over.
And just so you guys know, we have all the instructions written up right now over on the Marley Bird website. The link is in the video description of this video. So if you click on that, you should be able to go and view the instructions that Robyn has written up for this pattern. Yes, it is a free pattern. If you get a chance, like it and favorite it on Facebook, on Ravelry. That really helps with our reach and stuff. I'm putting together a Ravelry link right now. If there's anything that we need to add into the instructions as we're going here, because we are live, I will add them in without any issues. But yeah, I'm here mainly, guys, to monitor the live stream and the chat. So if you have questions or you need Robyn to go back and do something, I can try and get a grasp on all of that and do it. It's hard to juggle it all at the same time, but all right, you feeling better, Robyn?
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. Okay, I'm going to mute myself so that I don't interrupt.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. So to get it started, here is the cowl. And that's what I was saying, is it really looks woven, which I find super cool. I don't usually start with our homework, but today we're going to jump right into our homework. This is basically what we're doing because it's the easiest stitch that we're doing. This is what the pattern looks like by using 3 colors instead of 5. Basically, with your homework tonight with a Kirkton cowl, I just grabbed 5 of these mini balls. We Crochet makes these great Bravo worsted weight mini packs where you get a whole, I don't remember, 25 different colors. It's some huge amount of colors. And they all come in these tiny 25-gram balls. So using 5 of these gets you the giant puffy cowl. Because you don't need this big guy. You're not going to use all of him. Anyway, I said I was fine, and then there I go. Ooh, that tickle. All right. Anyway, what's cool about this is you can use 3 colors or you can use 5 colors. It's really up to you and what you have laying around, because I don't want any of these to be something that you are choosing brand new yarn for. You can use any worsted weight yarn. We say also that you can easily use Red Heart Soft. I'm sorry, Marley. Man, oh man.
It's all right. It's because you're talking, and
It
so
is because I'm
it's
talking.
all right. I mean, we all understand. I mean, it's we're doing the best we can. It's funny, guys, because we will talk all the time on the phone, and I haven't heard a coffee fit like this from you yet. So this is,
No,
it's just the nature of the beast.
it's because we went live and that was that. Yeah, we've been talking for hours and I haven't coughed. Only figures. Anyway, so you could easily use Red Heart Soft instead in your cowl. Man, those fibers. It's like goes right up. So the reason I said Red Heart Soft instead of just plain Super Saver is this is going against your neck and face and it's not blocked. So you want it to be all cushy and soft and wonderful. All right. So, well, now I just gave you tons of time to get some yarn to play with. So the first thing we're going to learn is slip stitches. What you do is you start with just any amount. For our cowl, we're going to start with an odd amount of chains or foundation slip stitches. I'm not going to go through it. You guys can rewatch the video on how to do it. But just like we were doing in lesson 1, we're going to change our color when we're going to do our return pass. All that means is I'm folding in my new color and I'm just going to work the loops off as normal all the way to the end. On this cowl, we work them off. We change our color at the beginning and the end of the return pass. You can look at it as you're changing it at the beginning of each pass, either however you want to look at it. Okay, so I changed my color. When you get to the end of your return pass and you have 2 loops left on your hook, that's when you go ahead and fold in another color. So I'm just going to use 3 here. You'll get the idea really fast. All right, so doing slip stitches, it literally means just slip the next stitch on your hook. The cowl uses it purlwise. Let me just show you what it looks like knitwise, or I don't like using the term knitwise because in Tunisian, it's not what it looks like knitwise. So a lot of times you'll hear me say Tunisian simple stitch wise. Basically, that means keep your yarn in the back, insert your hook, that slipped it on your hook. Then in the next stitch, do your stitch. Then again, insert your hook into the next stitch. You're slipping it on and doing a Tunisian simple stitch in the next stitch. And this is all that it is. You are literally just putting that stitch on your hook and then doing a stitch in the next stitch. And we do this all the way across. This is just slipping. Well, I did a stitch in that one. And then this is just slipping your stitches Tunisian simple stitch wise. It's just, I hate the name of it. It's a silly name. All right. And you get to the end and you've done it right. That's why I like to use different colors. If every other stitch is a different color, you'll notice that it's wanting to suck it all up because we didn't put a stitch in there. We just slipped it up. It's making this stitch do extra work. It's making it go extra long. That's all correct. Okay, let me work this off as normal. I changed my color again. I'm going to keep changing my color at the beginning and the end of my return passes, because that's what we do in the cowl and we'll be able to see what I'm doing a lot easier. Okay, that was slipping stitches, Tunisian simple stitch wise. Ugh. Let's slip them purlwise this time, okay? Slipping our stitches purlwise gives the look that we want in our cowl anyway. But if you slip them TSS wise, that's fine. All right, when you get to the end, you have 2 loops left on your hook. We're going to yarn over and bring up that new color. So I'm just using three colors here. In this one that's slipped, you can only slip a stitch once. You don't want to slip it again. It won't be able to travel that far. Okay, so I'm just doing a Tunisian simple stitch in the first stitch. In the next stitch, I'm going to slip it purlwise. That means move my yarn to the front, insert my hook, move my yarn to the back. So purlwise, all that meant is I moved my yarn to the front, and so I had to make this little cross over my stitch. In the next one, I'm just going to do a simple stitch. Then I'm going to move my yarn to the front. Get this all out of the way. Move my yarn to the front. Insert my hook. Move my yarn to the back. Next stitch, I'm doing a Tunisian simple stitch. Move my yarn to the front. Insert my hook. Move my yarn to the back. Now do a Tunisian simple stitch. So again, you can see every other color, every other stitch is a different color, which means I'm slipping these blue ones. The orange ones are my new stitches. So doing it purlwise just means I move my yarn to the front, then I insert my hook, and I move my yarn to the back. And then I do a stitch in the next one. So this is slipping stitches purlwise. All that means is that that yarn went to the front and it made this little cross in front. You can see it just makes a little T. Let's work these guys off with a new color. So you can start to see the woven effect. When I get to the end, I want to join in my new color. All right. So this stitch here was slipped TSS wise. This stitch here was slipped purlwise. So the only difference is that you have a little cross in front when you do it purlwise. When you do it TSS wise, there is no cross. I like the little cross. I like the little purlwise. That's what makes it look woven. So I'll do that one more time and then we're going to move on to a different stitch because it's really that easy. You're just putting your hook. You're basically making your stitch the stitch instead of finishing it off. So one more time, move my yarn to the front, insert my hook, move my yarn to the back, do a stitch. I'm doing a Tunisian simple stitch in the next one. Move my yarn to the front, do a stitch, move my yarn to the back. Now do a stitch in the next one. And this is what the cowl, this whole stitch pattern is made of. Very simple, very rhythmic, very easy to do, but it definitely kind of tests your brain of getting you really, really, really good at moving back and forth and back and forth. It's hard to tell on screen, but every other stitch is a different color. So it means that I got this right. And I have all of my floats in front. So that is slipping stitches knitwise. That's how you get this really cool woven-like look. Some other examples, just so you can see some other things. This is if you don't use knitwise, if you don't slip your stitch purlwise, this is TSS wise. Very much look like a tweed. This is slipping 2 stitches, changing up the rhythm, but this is slipping them and adding purl stitches in there. Again, really, really looks like a tweed. It's pretty fun. Definitely something to play with, easy, and just fun to do. All right. That is all there is. Super simple for your homework. Now, let me get into one of my favorite stitches. I use it all the time. All right, the next thing what we're going to play with is Tunisian reverse stitches. All of these reverse stitches are the little pops of color that you see. If you've been playing with us for a while, we did it in our game day cowl. All of these are Tunisian reverse stitches. I have the link, game day cowl, game day hat, and the link to the hat and the link to the pattern, this pattern as well, on the blog post, so that you can see both of them. But all of these guys, these pops of color, are reverse stitch. So if you remember when we talked about all of our stitches, that we know that we have these long vertical loops that we go into. We've been going into this front vertical strand to make a Tunisian simple stitch. Well, to make a Tunisian reverse stitch, instead, you go into these stitches. You go into your back strand. And that's when we get these pops of color. Basically what happens is, if you remember, our return pass are all of these chains. Well, those chains are going to pop forward when you go into this back strand. So let me show you what that looks like. All right, all I have is just one row of Tunisian simple stitch. Nothing fancy or done to it, right? It's just giving us something to work from. Doesn't matter how many stitches it is, any amount of stitches work. So, as you know, Tunisian simple stitch, we go in this front vertical loop. But if we pull these guys apart, we know that we have 2 strands here. From week 2, we learned that if we go in between through that fabric, we make a knit stitch. Okay, we're not going to do that. What we want to do is go into the back, which is this strand back here, just the back, and we get the reverse stitch. So let me show you. The very first one, this one, the one that's next to your hook, that's the hardest one to go into. All the rest will be easier. What you're going to do is you're going to hold your hook. Think of it as holding in the back of your work. Another way of looking at it is kind of like if you're flipping your fabric down, you're going to insert your hook into the back vertical strand. This is the back vertical strand. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Okay, so it is going from the back. If you kind of lay your work upside down, you can see this back vertical strand. Insert your hook, pull up a loop. Again, all I'm doing is kind of like flipping my work over so I can see this back vertical strand, and I'm inserting my hook here. If we look at it from the front, I'm inserting my hook. Think of it as you're inserting it from the back over that back vertical strand to the back again. Yarn over, put a stitch on, the loop on your hook. So looking at it from the front wise, you're inserting your hook from the back over that back vertical strand to the back again. So that's that back vertical strand on my hook. Pull up a loop. It's just like doing the Tunisian simple stitch, but from the back. You're holding your hook in the back the whole time. And again, if I flip this over, I can see my two strands, and now it's a lot easier to kind of go into. You're getting it, quote unquote, right if your chains fall forward. So they kind of make like a pearl look. So if I flip this over and I go into the back, and then I'm just yarn over, pulling up a loop. This is the reverse stitch. The reverse stitch is really great when you want to get all of that texture really easily without doing a whole lot of work. And like I said at the beginning, this is a great practice for just training your brain of reading the patterns and interpreting where exactly do they want you to put your hook, because it seems awkward and odd. So understanding the kind of fabric that you get kind of makes all of this worth it. So you can see, like, when I turn it, it's really a ton of texture. It took all of these top chains and threw them to the front. And that's how you can see all of that crazy texture. All right, let me do that one more time. What we're going to do is, we know that this is a Tunisian simple stitch. That's the front loop. We want this back loop, but we want it from the back. That's kind of the key. If you go into this back loop from the front, it's another stitch. Of course it is. So we're doing the back strand, the back vertical strands from the back. I'm pulling up a loop. So again, I like to kind of turn my work over so I can see what I'm doing. Then insert my hook, pull up a loop. I fold it. I literally have my working fabric upside down because I find it easier to find that vertical strand to go into doing it this way.
There's a note here that somebody says it reminds me of working through the third loop when doing a half double crochet.
Yes, very much so. Very, like, exactly. Yes, it's hidden. How do you find it? Your hook finds it, right?
Yep. And Catherine is saying the effect is similar to the back loop, causing some stitches to go forward. Is that correct?
Yes. Another great way of looking at it. Yes. Yes. It's like
so
going,
helpful when people
yes,
understand knitting and crochet, right? And then
it's
you're like,
exactly the same. Yeah.
Yep.
All of that is exactly it. So looking at it from the front again, if you absolutely hate flipping your work over, you insert your hook from the back to the front, over that back strand, back to the back. Yarn over, pull up a loop. From the back, over that back strand, to the back again, yarn over, pull up a loop. Again, I really like flipping over my work and just going into that back vertical strand. I find it a lot easier and faster to do. The last one is just a Tunisian simple stitch on the end. And you work your loops off as normal. All right, so that was the Tunisian reverse stitch. You get all of this great texture. It's It's really lovely. Let me show you again on the game day hat how much you have all of this great texture. It's like popping off the fabric. It's just a fun stitch to know. You'll see I use it all the time in my ribbing as great pops of color. It's just a fun one to have. All right, the last one for today is a wrap stitch. And it means exactly that. Again, I have this pattern linked for you. It just wraps 2 or 3
What's
stitches
the name of this pattern? I'm
together.
sorry.
This one is the McCaskill.
Okay, thank you.
McCaskill hat. And this wrap stitch just kind of gives you just a cool, different look. It groups 2 stitches together and adds another way of adding that strand, adding your yarn to the front of your work. So, and again, kind of practices a lot of using your brain in another way, another way of doing it. I'm going to change my color because we're doing something different, just so you can. All right. To do this one, we're going to yarn over our hook first. This yarn over will be what we wrap our stitches with. So it's not actually, usually a yarn over means that you're increasing somewhere, that you're doing something in lace. It's the same way in knitting. A yarn over means you're making one. This just means that we're going to use this strand to wrap our stitches. In the next 2 stitches, I'm just doing a simple Tunisian simple stitch. So the whole wrapping is we're going to move this yarn over these 2 stitches. So this is where having a hook is really helpful. All you're going to do is twist your hook down and go through that yarn over. So now that yarn over is wrapped around those 2 stitches. All right, let's do it a couple more times. Yarn over. Do a Tunisian simple stitch in the next 2 stitches. Now I'm going to twist my hook down so I can go over and pop that yarn over the 2 stitches I just made. Yarn over. Tunisian simple stitch in the next 2. Twist my hook down and pop over. All right. So this little fun guy just adds some, it kind of gathers the stitches together, but it also is just another way of getting a strand of color to the front of your work. So I have 2 left. I'm just going to do the last 2. And what's nice about having the hook is basically what I'm doing is I'm grabbing those 2 stitches and I can twist them under a lot easier. All right, you work these off as normal. And let's twist them again. It is exactly like doing a wrap over in knitting, but you get a hook, which makes it a lot easier of getting your stitches over it because they can gather up in the actual hook part of your hook. All right. I'm going to offset these so we can see a little bit better. So in the first one, I'm just going to do Tunisian simple stitch. Now I'm going to show you again. Wrap, Tunisian simple stitch in the next 2. Then we're putting this yarn over these 2. So if you wanted, you can just pull it over. There's, if you're struggling with hooking it. There's nothing wrong with just using your fingers and having it go over. That's essentially the motion that you're going to do. Twist down, pop over. And that's what that gives that really cool, almost like a linen effect.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Would you recommend self-striping yarn for the cowl?
For our homework? No. For in general? Yeah.
Okay.
Just using self-striping yarn
Awesome.
for a cowl? Sure. For our
Awesome.
homework, it won't work. You want to change your color.
Okay. And then
When you
Alice
want to change
Kennedy
it.
is saying that she loves these hat patterns, and I agree. And just so everybody knows, as Robyn's been working along, I've been updating the blog post, just putting some pictures and links to some of the stuff that she's talking about here. So I've also added this Kirkton Tunisian crochet cowl pattern to Ravelry, so you can go there and favorite it, like it, and add your project along the way. We've been doing that all through BiCrafty Bootcamp. So if you are a member of Ravelry and like to keep track of your stuff there, you can absolutely find the patterns there. They are listed under Marley Bird and Robyn Chachula as the designers. It's part of our Birds of a Feather production. So did you have a little bit of, I was trying to give you a little bit of a break to get a rest with your voice.
That sounds great.
Okay, back to you.
So this very pretty stitch looks like that when you're all done. Again, these stitches, it's not like these are like the next things that you have to know in your journey. It's more of realizing that there's so much else out there and interpreting how a pattern is written and just practicing doing something else, because there's so many more places. You know, every time it tells you to stick your hook somewhere else, it's making a different stitch. And that's all there is to these guys. All right, last thing, let's talk a little bit about finishing. We talked about it before, but let's do it one more time. I'm going to use this swatch as kind of my working swatch. And let me grab wherever that yarn went to. Here we go. What you'll notice for the edges of our cowl this week is that I want you to do a single crochet around the border. And we talked about this last time, and I just want to talk about it one more time of where I like to stick my hook of when we are putting an edging on something. So first things first, for us, I don't like using my Tunisian hook to do the detail work. I find it unwieldy and uncomfortable. So I will tell you when, you know, it's important that I want you to change your hook size to just a regular hook. So in our case, we're using this time an L or an 11 or an 8 millimeter hook for our cowl. You want to go up a hook size because the slip stitches get so dense. But for the edging, I used an I. I didn't need this width just to put an edging around it. You can kind of grab anything that really is going to work with your yarn, but you can just grab a regular Tunisian hook. Now, to work around the edges, what I like to do is you can join your yarn with a slip stitch to your hook. I like to make sure that when I am inserting my hook that I'm not just going around a vertical bar along the edge or both vertical bars along the edge. Let me show you. If you go through and do 1 by 1 here, what tends to happen is you get this hole in your work. And I don't like that hole. So what you'll notice that I tell you to do is I'm going to go around, I'm going to use this back vertical strand, and I'm going to leave that front vertical strand alone, and also go into a horizontal strand at the same time. Those are the two strands I go into.
Can you kind of come a little bit closer to the camera? And it's interesting because this is actually how I will pick up stitches in Entrelock. This is how I work through Entrelock stitches.
So instead of going in this front strand, I'm making sure I go through this back strand and one of the strands of the horizontal bar to insert my hook. So again, I don't want to go around these two vertical strands. I skip that front one, I leave it alone, and I go into one of the horizontal strands in the back and the back vertical strand to do my work. Let me do two more so then you can see the difference. What happens is it leaves that front vertical strand as a stitch and it kind of covers up. So instead of having these big holes when you normally are edging with a single crochet, it's tucked in the back here and you don't have these holes anymore. Like if I pull it apart, there's no holes there. It just has a nice look, a finished look of a stitch. That's the way I like to finish it off. It's not wrong if you're going the easy route around both of these vertical strands. I just don't like these holes. That's all. That's why I like to show you. So let me do it a couple more times. I got my yarn all twisted and tangled. All right. So one more time. I'm making sure I don't go into that one, but I kind of lift it up so I can see the horizontal strands are right here. So I'm going to dig my hook into one of them and do my single crochet over them. So I'm leaving this one alone. It's like, looks like I'm putting it on my hook. I'm not really, I'm just trying to make sure I don't go into it and then go into it. So it's basically, if you remember, if we pull this apart, I just want to insert my hook into that chain, that return pass is another way of looking at it. I'm just inserting my hook into that return pass to hook my hook so that I leave this vertical strand alone. I leave that last stitch alone when I'm doing it. All right, last thing. When it comes to seaming our cowl, you're going to seam up the first and last row together. What you'll notice in the pattern, I told you to do a mattress stitch. You can do a woven stitch. The only thing I don't like is the whip stitch because yes, it gives you a stronger seam. You're going to have, more gook here, more texture to it. But what I find with Tunisian is that if you do a whip stitch, it really looks like a seam. You can see it. I don't want to see it. I want it to look much more natural, that it's a part of the pattern. So that's why I like to use pretty much any other seam other than a whip stitch, but it's really up to you. A mattress stitches or a woven stitch, you just go up one side of your fabric, just a tiny little bit. Then you come back and go up the same amount of your fabric, and then you come back. So you're inserting your needle up a little bit, come back over here, do the same thing. And when you pull it tight, you can't see your stitches at all, and it just sucks the two fabrics together. That's how I like to seam Tunisian fabrics, no matter what I'm doing. Don't do whip stitch. I find that it creates a big hole and you can tell that there's a seam. What we want is like this. You don't want to see any seam. So with that, I think that's everything this week, Marley. That's everything I can think about of what we are doing.
Great.
So
Well, I've updated the blog post with Ravelry links. I've added images. So that way people can get those patterns that you talked about. Like I've added the image to the McCaslin hat. I've added the Tunisian hats from Game Day. And then I also added a link to the Benair Tunisian crochet hat you have. Is that how you say that? Benair, Beaner? I don't know. Beaner. Tunisian crochet hat.
Mm-hmm.
And I put together a cute little thing. So like I put Mark and the kids and I removed the background and they're all like, it's just cute. It's adorable. You have to so you have to add it to your Ravelry. Cool. So everything's there. It's been updated. Again, everybody, that link is in the video description box below. Just a reminder, BiCrafty Bootcamp is 4 weeks long. After the completion of BiCrafty Bootcamp, we will put up a sign-up sheet for people if they are interested in continuing on to an intermediate level of BiCrafty Bootcamp Triple Threat. It will be much more advanced Tunisian skills, and that will be a course housed in the Marley Bird House. It will not be live and free here on YouTube. That will be a paid for course taught by Robyn with not just live videos like this. They'll actually be filmed and edited videos. So it'll be a different type of content as far as I'm going to say quality, but I feel like you're still getting quality, but it's just a different level. And so you will be getting those at the Marley Bird House.
You certainly won't have live coughing through them.
Yeah, you won't have live coffee for sure. Next week, we are working Tunisian in the round, correct? So
yes.
Is there anything they need to know before next week?
Yes. So next week, we're making a hat. The hats that I've been showing you, they don't need a double-ended hook. You can certainly convert the patterns to doing them. But the hat that we're going to make is I just got started on it, is in the round, and you're using a double-ended hook, which means you either need a hook with a cable, and you have your hook with your cable, and then on the other end, you put your other hook. So you have a hook on either side. So you either need this, or you needed a double-ended hook, which basically looks like a hook with two, it looks like a hook with two ends to it. It doesn't, here's the thing. Now, because everything I've been saying is like it matters how long it is, how long your Tunisian cable is, how long your hook is. With double-ended, none of that matters. You just need a hook with two hooks on the end, or you need a cable with a hook on either end. That's how we will go in the round, and we'll just learn some double-ended basics next week.
It's cool.
My favorite way of doing in the round, hands down.
Oh, so you saved the best for last, essentially. Yeah. All right. So before we leave, I do want to try and catch any comments that we might have here. So we do have people that say they love these stitches. Thank you for the links. Okay, so here's one. Having trouble picking up the horizontal stitch. Do you have any recommendations?
So the way I like looking at it is when you're working along the edge, think instead of that you are jamming your hook into your chain, into that return pass. Lift up that front vertical bar, and then just jam your hook right into that return pass, wherever that return pass is. If you jam your hook in there, you're going to grab that horizontal strand.
Okay. Then we have another one here. Recommendation for you from Linda is you need some hot tea with lemon and honey. That actually sounds quite delicious.
I can't tell you how much I've been drinking.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
What does the other side of the cowl look like? Do you want to show the other side?
Yeah. So the other side the inside out part just looks
To
like
me, it looks really pretty too.
horizontal stripes.
Yeah, it looks really pretty.
It's nothing like it. What's nice about it is that, if you have it inside out, it'll
Yeah.
still look nice.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so here's the next one. Are you picking up the horizontal first and then the back part of the stitch, or the back part of the stitch first?
I'm picking up the horizontal strand, then the back part. Yeah, that's the sandwich that I'm making.
Cool. And then there was a thank you for going slower so they can see. What size double-ended hook for next week?
I like a K. That's what I like using, because for the most of what we've been doing is a K.
Okay. Here's a question. It's a loaded question. I love you two together. Thank you. Because I love us together too. I wonder, can we go like, I guess it would be like this. It would be a heart.
No.
Other side.
I can't do this.
I know.
I can't do it.
That's hilarious. Any plans to make another kit together like the BiCrafty games? Well, we recently did the Camp Colorwork, which was a kit that we did, and we've done BiCrafty games, or BiCrafty Champions is what we did. As far as another kit in the works, we don't have one right now that we can talk about. But, we're always open. You never know. More than anything, we're always working on the courses and the pattern collections and now the VIP experience, really ramping up what kind of content you're getting in the Marley Bird House, outside of just us. So both of us teaching, and then we're trying to bring in some people that we know are amazing teachers, amazing talent, quality individuals, OG crocheters and knitters just like us, essentially. So yeah,
that just enhances more skills.
Yeah.
Just to hear from other voices. And because the way that we both teach is there's multiple ways of doing things. And that's why we would want to hear more voices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
always another way of doing it.
Yeah. So that's our big thing now. So will there be kits that go along with those? I don't know. We've had some interest from various companies about putting kits together with us for these courses, but I mean, that's a whole nother, you would think it'd be really easy. It's a whole nother thing for us to do though. And if you know us at all, we have enough for now. So, that's where that is. Robyn, you're getting a lot of compliments on your hairstyle today.
Thanks. Called quarantine. Staying inside my house and not dealing with humidity.
It's awesome. It's awesome. All right. So that is this week's BiCrafty Bootcamp Lesson 3. We will bring it all together and conclude it next Wednesday about 1 o'clock. That's the time we try and go live, is 1 o'clock. And it also will coincide again with First Fall, which starts today, everybody. So I got to get off here and get everything ready for First Fall now. My goal was to get back on here about 3:30. I'm going to be honest. I'll probably get on here at 4 o'clock. For First Fall. I'm putting everything into the blog right now as far as the instructions you will be following along with. So if you are ready for the First Fall make along, I'm happy to have you join us. If you don't know what it's all about, I've put a link in the video description box below. It is not too late to join. You could get your yarn this week and join in. Or if you're just like, I don't have time right now, but I know I'm going to want to do this later, you could always sign up for the VIP experience. Then it is yours with unlimited access. Or if you are joining now and you want the VIP experience, go over there because there's lots of little extras that you can get in there. So that's it for this part of my day. Now I get to go and get ready for the third live today. So that's all Marley all the time. That's what it feels like today. You're welcome, everybody. Everybody's saying thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. And
thank you guys. Thanks for putting up with me this week.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk to you guys again soon.